guys.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a Mario in a Fall X Live broadcast, where we go into crypto, AI, gaming, and today it's going to be a DePIN conversation with XYO and the panel of guests we brought to you. It's going to be Matt, Brad, Seth is here from Mind Your Biz, Marcus from XYO, and Boris is pulling up. But it's me and Travis running it back to you. And I got to start with Travis. It's been a minute since I've talked to you, and I know in the pre-show we were talking about markets being cool. So I wonder what's on your mind today, man. How are you doing?
Markets being cool. They're not that cool. That seemed cool to me. I was looking at my portfolio from last week to this week, and it doesn't seem nearly as cool. But that is life in crypto. People get all freaked out about it, and I'm like, I don't know if you know this or not, but crypto goes up, crypto goes down, crypto goes up, but it always tends to go up and to the right over time. Just zoom out, and you can see. And so that's really what it's at. I don't like the market cap, quite frankly, being under 4 trillion. That's not my favorite thing. It's at 3.9 trillion right now, but it is trillions. So I remember when it was not even a trillion. I remember when it was not even 500 billion. I remember when it was not even 100 billion. So it's all perspective. I look at it, I go, oh my God, dude, it's 3.9 trillion. Holy shit, dude, that's crazy. And then I go, oh my God, it's not 4 trillion. That sucks ass. So I don't know. It's all perspective.
You've been tracking that number a long time too. And one of the reasons I always say I like that is because it stops you from worrying about any one coin or token price. And it just keeps you so focused on the overall. So that's a great perspective. Something that hopefully out there, somebody is zooming out to check out. I know Matt Case doesn't have to zoom out.
I want to say this though, real quick though, is that go look at like January 1st, 2017 and go and see how many of those coins in the top 20 are even around today. And then tell me, how's it going to be 5 to 7 years from now? A lot of the coins in the top 10, top 20, top 25, they're not around yet. The next wave of new blockchains that are doing new cool shit's coming. So it's like, it's not, it just is what it is. And you just got to pay attention. It's all perspective, Pulse.
It's a good perspective to have. I like Matt Case's perspective on things. Matt, how are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure to join the team. Great conversation, and you always learn a lot. So yeah, I'm excited to think markets right now. Look at buying opportunity. We kind of talked about that a little bit beforehand. Excited to hear about XYO, and I want to know if you're going to sponsor more race cars as well, because that's kind of where I'm
at. Sponsoring race cars is very hot right now, Marcus. They're going to put you on the seat for that one. That'll be a great question. Bradley, how are you doing? What do you think about some of the views on market capitalization? Is he right to just be looking at that larger number? I think he is.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we've seen throughout this market cycle has been institutionally driven, right? That's where the capital has been coming from. I think with the spot ETFs that are, the SEC just changed the rules on ETF approvals. So I think that's going to open up the door for, a lot of these other assets to get approved. You're talking about your Solanas, your XRPs, et cetera, Avalanche, for example. I think that's going to bring a whole new avenue for institutional money to flow in. And I think you look where the building's taking place and you add that market structure bill that's going to be passed likely by the end of this year. I think Solana is where a lot of that building's taking place and Base. But regardless, I think that all is good for DePIN and what's happening there. And I personally have been rebalancing my portfolio, cutting some of the ones that maybe weren't performing as well. And I've been heavily emphasizing robotics and compute, man. And I think that's where the next capital flow is going to go, outside of the large caps, at least.
Cutting the dead weight is one of the hardest decisions to make in bag holding, man. Kudos to you for making those moves. There's a couple of people out there listening right now that don't know the definition of the sell button. So that's a good one. Seth, how are you doing today, man? Thank you for being here.
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me back. And as far as the core question, I think I did that backwards. Core question, market cap and just the overall markets in general. Look, I'm kind of there in the same boat as Travis. I was looking at the market cap before it was $1 trillion and saying publicly on the media that I was creating at the time that that's going to be. I mean, we price anchor retail and the institutional organizations. We price anchor for whatever reason. We get unit bias. We commit these logical fallacies as we watch those prices go up. And it wasn't going to become an institutional market until we hit that first trillion. Here we are knocking on the door of 4. And the only complaints are from guys like Travis, who just needs it to moon right away. But you have these institutions saying like, no, we're finally comfortable now. There's large enough sizes for us to actually put some of our treasuries into, for us to actually build meaningful reserves. And I think that's going to become very, very key if you are in North America over the next 5 years. Very interesting time to be alive. Very, very interesting time to be in crypto.
That's a good perspective. Just to see what makes them comfortable might not be what retail is comfortable with. So good scaling right there. Marcus, what do you think about how things are going, and how have you been since we last talked?
Yeah, thanks for having me again. It's awesome to be on this show every single time. I have been well. It was a stressful launch for us, with the XYO Layer 1 network and the new token, XL1. But the markets are a dampener right now. However, it's accumulation time, and I think if you believe that the macroeconomic setup is the right one, the Fed is on the right path, probably inflation, who knows what's going to happen, hopefully not going to go too high anymore. And you might just be in just a little cool down period, which means, you should accumulate. And that's going to be good for all assets, I think. And I'm pretty confident that's going to happen. And, 4 trillion is going to be back in no time.
It seems like everybody up here's got quite a bit of confidence. I know how busy you've been with your recent launch, so thanks for taking the time to be here, man. I appreciate it. And Boris is also here from CleanApp. How you been, man? What's up?
Doing amazing. Great to be back. And yeah, regarding the news over the last week, I have to say I'm kind of surprised that the flush, the liquidation cascade we got, wasn't bigger actually. So where we are, market cap, overall leverage in the ecosystem is sky high, and I know it was the largest liquidation event of 2025. But I think we still have some ways to go. And then again, resuming the up and to the right pattern. But where we are right now at this specific moment is a really interesting, really interesting spot, because traditional equities are, breaking all-time highs, and it's natural for there to be, this little bit of a release valve. And so I think what we're going through right now, what if I had to summarize it, what really surprised me is I thought the liquidation cascade would be much bigger. The fact that it wasn't shows that there's a lot of health in the system.
It's an interesting perspective on it, because there definitely had some people jumping when they saw the numbers, but I like the way you're looking at it. And Travis, it seems like everybody kind of agrees with your zoom out perspective on that, and that 4 trillion is a significant number. What do you think?
Well, I like to say this too, is I'm going to share my screen here. Here we go. But I want to say this is that, that having principle that's happened every time up until now, like the 500 days before the halving is the low, 500 days after the halving is the high, the 500 days after the halving is like in a couple of days. So I'm kind of not surprised that a lot of people are conditioned to maybe dump right now and have liquidity exits, because they're saying, oh, if it's like every other time, and every other time it has been like that, now's the time where they would exit. And so, but it seems like we've never really got that big pop yet. But look at this right here. This is crazy to me. If I'm looking at my, this is September 27th, 2015. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. There we go. Bitcoin, $232. Who would like to go and get some of that? XRP was super cheap as well, less than a penny. Litecoin, $2. Ethereum, 72 cents. Then look, here we got BitShares, Dash, Banks. Doesn't even exist. They're just gone. Look at Doge right there, dude. I remember when Doge was 0.0000 something, dude. And I laughed at it and didn't buy any because I'm an idiot, right? And so Stellar is doing, look at that, Made Safe coin. Look at all these coins. They don't even exist. Like most of these coins they don't exist anymore. If you're on the top 100, hardly any of them. There's an old school world coin, by the way. Tether. There was only 451,000 Tether in existence 10 years ago. So I just like people to, have some perspective on this and keep.
Oh, auto rug Travis when we close the screen. But we'll get him back up in here in a second. I think the point that he's making, though, is that there's no guarantee when someone is on the top of the mountain that they will be up there for the entire time. This is a paraphrase from Arnold in Pumping Iron when he's talking to Lou Ferrigno about the hungry lion coming up the mountain. And these crypto businesses are no different. If you're at the top of the mountain right now, that's great. And you might have all the food you want, but there's always a hungry lion coming up that mountain, and that mountain is hard, and that lion is strong from making that climb, and they're going to want to take the top from you. So what was the top 25 then now, and what has stuck around is actually a really interesting comparison, because as he was doing that, I even saw some names that I was like, oh, I remember that. I saw Dash. I don't see Dash very often anymore. I heard Stellar. I don't see it on that list anymore. So Travis, what do you think about my analogy there that the top 25 should not be resting on their laurels, because things can change, right? There's always a hungry lion coming up.
Yeah. And I will say this, that the stop sharing button and the leave the room button look really close together. I was like, there it is. Oh no, that's go away. So I went away. But yeah, no, it's that's it. And you can look at it 5 years ago and the same thing happened. You're on, where are all these tokens? And so, you know, and I think we're probably now in blockchain 3.0, not web 3.0, because originally the first one, blockchain, Bitcoin, then Ethereum, kind of an OG one, but then we have some of these newer ones that have popped out. They've learned the lessons of the previous blockchains, and they're saying, no, we need to kind of do it like this. And so I think a lot of that's changing. And so, we're probably entering into that next phase. So especially in this next cycle that we have, even if this cycle kind of peters out a little bit and then kind of, who even knows what's going to happen now, because we've never had 1 million Bitcoin in Bitcoin treasuries. Excuse me. We've never had all these countries stashing crypto. We've never had all of these ETFs happening before. So it really is a different phase of crypto. So this next cycle is, I don't know, it's hard to predict, really.
It makes me curious for those of you that have been around for a little while. Marcus, I know your timeline goes way back. What do you think when you see Travis sharing a list like that? Because you probably watched those same names come across your tickers at the time they were live, right? What do you see reflecting on that? Check that mute, bud. Sorry.
Yeah, I started a Bitcoin mining company in 2013, so I definitely saw those and the numbers before, and it was then everybody thought, oh, those are the top numbers, and it was difficult to get people into the ecosystem, right? And then 2016 and especially 2017 happened, and ICO boom and everything catapulted, and that was just the crazy time. I think really launched then. And then, we launched XYO in 2018, and I'm watching the numbers go up, like we launched in a bear market, and it was tough to see ETH go from like 500 to 50. And then, through all the cycles, and now we're at 4 trillion. It's absolutely incredible. And what you said before, I think, there's always a hungry lion. Now there's millions of lions in crypto, and I think that creates a lot of resiliency, because you have this competition, right, which makes projects better and more efficient and create something real. In 2017, in the ICO boom, you had a lot of like scammy projects, which were out for the money, and I think one of the problems there was that there wasn't enough competition back then yet. And today you have these real projects building real things, creating revenue. And so that creates much more resiliency for the market, and that's why I know crypto is going to be around for another million years.
That's a good perspective. That the competition breeds excellence is the phrase I would say right there. If everybody is getting accustomed to having real adults in the room that have C-suite skills, in 2017, that wasn't necessary to run one up. So that's interesting. Matt, what do you think when he brings up some of these old tokens that don't exist, like what Travis highlighted? What do you think, looking back on that? What do we learn from seeing those disappear?
I think to Marcus's point is maturity in the market. We see a lot more infrastructure that's been built. One of my favorite quotes, and you kind of paraphrase it, like I believe that was Gary Cardone said one time, the adults are in the room now, right? And so we've seen this from the infancy of, the Wild West days, where anybody and some degens could spin up tokens. And we kind of see that now a little bit on Pump Fund, but it really has changed. I think the narrative, we've seen it mature. We've seen the industry grow. We've made some mistakes along the way, but we've learned how to improve on that. And I think that, to Marcus's point, that's really where we're seeing these OG tokens that have held their value, that have given value back to the system. We're seeing them still continue to be there.
Yep, and they're going to have to figure out how to give value back. What do you think, if I ask Matt, the difference between how altcoin was defined then and now? Because that term is very dynamic. I know now it's different. What do you think about what used to be an altcoin compared to now?
Well, to me, back then, everything other than Bitcoin was an altcoin, right? Because it was like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and I think that was it, right? And there was XRP, but to me, everything other than Bitcoin was an altcoin. That's how I looked at it back then.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did too.
It is. What's funny is if you go back to the very beginning, so you can go to coinmarketcap.com/historical. That's the website. And you can go in and pick. So the very first one that it tracks is like in April of 2013. And that very first chart, there's 7 tokens, which is hilarious, right? There's 7 tokens. And of those, the only ones that exist are Bitcoin and Litecoin. And what's funny is if you go through the progression, you look at each week, you can see like it goes through every week. Oh, new tokens pop up. So the very first time we got Bitcoin, Litecoin, then you got Peercoin, Namecoin, TerraCoin, DevCoin, NovaCoin. And then like you just keep launching, and every one of their tokens, all of them end in a C because of Bitcoin. And it looks like it wasn't for a few weeks later until BitBar came out and created BTB. So somebody goes, oh my God, we don't have to end our symbol in a C. So it's just so funny kind of just watching the whole thing progress. And like, even in like, May 2013, there's only 14 tokens in existence. And now there's like 14 tokens happen a nanosecond on pump.fun. It's just insane. Like millions of tokens are being popped off. So, and we're going to see that happening. More and more cities are going to launch tokens, right? Like Kansas City, where I live, we have the World Cup coming next year, right? I don't know why they haven't launched a Kansas City token or something that can sort of match up with a stable coin. And then because there's going to be people from all over the world wanting to use digital currencies, and Kansas City, where they're not ready.
How's that Miami token doing that Suarez launched a couple of years ago?
Yeah, what is it doing?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Did they recall it?
Token. There's a Texas token that is doing pretty good. It's a Texas. I don't remember what it's called. I saw ads for it at the airport in Houston. Right. So it's like, yeah, the pioneers get the arrows in the back, right, Marcus? The pioneers get the arrows, and then people figure the shit out. Oh, here's where they fucked up, and here's where we're going to do it differently. And that's what happens.
It's a very good point. A lot of the early projects, so sure, there was a lot of vaporware, but a lot of the early projects were really ahead of their time, and waiting for the AI revolution to really realize their potential. And so I think we're going to see a lot of the great ideas from first gen, like on-chain bounties, programs, and so forth, flourish now, enabled by AI.
Great point, for sure.
So you got me thinking about states now, and I'm over here running through my mind like the odds that any one state would successfully have a coin of their own. We're talking about cities and states, and it's like, I don't know, man. What do we need, a California DAO? I don't want to be a part of that at all.
I want to say this. That was true freedom. I mean, look at this. This right here is the United States dollar from way back in the day. Here is a Confederate dollar from the Bank of Virginia. Here's one, the Ohio Railroad, $5 from the Ohio Railroad. Like with the Visa token access protocol that they've done and the Genius Act, we're going to see more. We're going to see more banks having their own coins. And I would much prefer them having their own stable coins than having a CBDC. So it's like we're going to see more of that. I think that's where. But the problem is that a lot of these banks don't have any fucking idea of what to do. They're going to give the keys to Jimmy and IT. You know what I mean? What are they going to do? Like, they don't know how this works yet. So they got some figuring out to do there, Pulse.
That's actually one of the things I've posited in the past about federal cryptocurrency holdings or any other government entity that holds these things is the day that one of these things gets hacked because some dude misclicked a phishing link is going to be just a black swan type of day when you find out 48 states have got state reserves, but they all come down to one dude holding the key because nobody knew how to set up a multi-signature or whatever it is.
Some guy at Harvard, now they've been drained from their whole crypto. It's something that's going to happen, dude. And it's
not your keys, not your on-chain muni bonds.
This seriously, dude. And then when we start talking about 401ks, it does send me to that weird place because no matter how much data we have on chain, there's eventually one dude signing transactions for this type of stuff. Seth, have you ever gotten caught up in that rabbit hole? Because I've gone down that sometimes when I'm in a dark place.
Yeah, well, no, totally. I mean, doing consulting work, I've had to advise on whether or not Fireblocks is the right solution. Had to advise on whether or not a multi-sig that they control is the right solution for that size group. So no, it's a rabbit hole, but I don't know. I'm not quite as worried about the muni bonds being hacked by a shadowy supercoder because they haven't been yet, and I don't think they're going to go there until that happens. Let's be real. angel networks, VCs, all the LPs that you've ever interacted with at a VC, they would never trust for AUM, all of it, to be in a single signature wallet. And if they did, obviously you would never LP for them. And I think everybody here realizes that. VCs are the most risk-averse people in the entire goddamn known universe. So that's why again, we had to get to $1 trillion market cap to even get them to begin to wet their beaks in this industry, because they're craven cowards when it comes to taking real risk. We're barely getting into the age where any of this stuff is just starting to happen. So yes, absolutely, I thought about it. And yes, absolutely, I witnessed that craven cowardice, and thank goodness I've been able to capitalize off it. But no, we're not gonna race towards that future in which one guy's holding the keys, because look at Nepal. What did they go scour the palace to find a little metal seed phrase plate? It's not going to boil down to that. When we finally get to the point of nation states taking these assets more seriously, it is going to be the above the line custodians. Now, is it going to be true crypto at that point? I think everybody in this panel already agreed. No, it's not going to be true crypto at that point. We are going to have different problems when it comes to provenance and custody. But no, the crypto is not going to stay crypto for very long. Again, next 5 years, it will be very interesting.
I can think of a couple of guests that would tell me that these were going to be solved agentically. They would interject their AI and be like, "Oh, don't worry, the AI is going to help the states control this type of stuff." And I hear that, and I come kind of the same way. I'm like, I don't know if we're there yet, man. I don't know. I'm not even giving a sniper bot my money, let alone letting the state's holdings sit in an agent's wallet. Bradley, do you think that there's ever any level where AI becomes a part of that conversation?
It could. I mean, one of the things Brian Armstrong, by the way, came out this last week. I think when it comes to like the DATs, the digital asset treasuries, and the spot ETFs, I think he said Coinbase is custodying like 80% of those assets. So what could go wrong there?
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, I think the AI agents will play a role in onboarding people into crypto, because let's be real, people don't want to figure out how to download wallets and use DEXs. And I think eventually they'll be able to, use AI agents to give them instructions to make some of that stuff happen. But as far as custodying, maybe, I think the biggest thing we're going to see with these banks and the Genius Act, they're going to create much better UIs to make it much easier for people to custody their assets, and they're going to make it done. It's going to be done in a safer way, I think. So I think that'll be a game changer for sure. But man, Travis, bringing up that chart, all it made me think about was what I would do if I had a time machine, because I would go back and buy a lot of Bitcoin, man. More than I have now, that's for sure.
I've often thought about that. First of all, I go to 1952 and buy a bunch of Mickey Mantle rookie cards. Then I go to the 80s and I sell them. And then I go ahead and start getting into Yahoo or Microsoft, Yahoo, AOL, sell all that for Apple, and then buy Bitcoin later. Then I'm a Rothschild, essentially. What happens?
We have a way to do it.
Then I'm going to go buy my own country and collect and create my own.
Bradley, you're talking about the Clarity and the Genius Acts making these things better and interaction on UI. And the first thing that popped in my head, I don't know why I thought of this, was because, healthcare.gov went so well when we gave the government. Please don't let that person make the interface for my cryptocurrency in the United States. I don't need a rollout like that. Like, here's your multi-billion-dollar website, and it's down. We're so sorry you can't access your money for the next 24 hours. We've got to get the website up and running again. That's going to turn people off immediately, dude. You can't have UI going down and people not having their access.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think the individual financial institutions and banks are creating better UI. I would never trust the government. I mean, as efficient as they are, I would never trust the government to create that for me.
People are relying on like SNAP benefits and EBT apps right now, though. So it's not a far stretch to think that the government isn't already involved in some sort of like digital banking and currency measurement. So it would be weird, man, but I wouldn't want to see the security. Again, you're getting into the backside of this stuff. I just don't want to see what they're doing for security on that side of it. But
well, I mean, sorry, just a brief interjection there, though. If you can believe it or not, there are several states in which, despite having an app for them to be able to use their EBT cards, the actual tracking for all of those benefits is still written in COBOL. Figure that out.
Ugh.
Yeah,
that seems antiquated, but I don't know. That whole system is like, that's when I see how the government touches money and how they provide UI and stuff like that. I always just think that there's so many reasons private sector does it better. And you always hear that it's because there's more money, you can hire better, you have higher standards, and you don't have all the red tape and stuff like that. So I look forward to my banking institution, though I may dislike them, beating the government to the punch and providing better apps and stuff like that. But how are we going to get regular people to use this type of stuff again? Do you think banks are the right place for people to be encountering this stuff? Because I don't think that your banking app getting you into crypto the first time is going to be it. And the Coinbase statistic is another thing that makes me nervous, that you mentioned that they have 80% of the custody, because I think that's what people are going to ask their bank to do. I think people are going to ask their banks to hold on to it just so they don't have to do anything. And that bothers me because that's not the ethos that most of us had, I think, depending on when we got into this. So Marcus, do you think that although we may want mass adoption, are you going to be okay if banking institutions are the primary touch point?
I was very much of the extreme side, like hold your keys, crypto is crypto, it's peer-to-peer, borderless. And I was one of the early hippies, right, in the crypto and blockchain space. But I realized over time that you need to offer some people easy access and easy UIs in a way they are familiar with. Otherwise, they're not going to onboard because they're scared or it's just they're uncomfortable to take a different path than what they're used to. So for us, for example, we started with IoT devices. You had to download stuff and install things and so on. And it was complicated for people to get into it, but it was the most crypto native way, right? And today, we have more than 10 million nodes in our network, and the people can onboard by downloading an app, and you can send your tokens which you earn directly to your Coinbase email address. And suddenly 80% of the people who come to our ecosystem are non-crypto people, but 95% of them choose to redeem their points for XYO, while they also can redeem them for airports and PlayStations and sweepstakes entries, stuff like that. And so I think it's a path, right? So I think you need those banking apps like Robinhood and Morgan Stanley is going to start, right? And others, I think, to onboard people into crypto. And then once they're there, right, then we can capture them and make them more native to crypto. But I think, yes, I think it's an important path.
I like the way you defined yourself as like a decentralization hippie, because it's weird that we've almost been around long enough to have time frames and eras to look back on. But you were like the peace and love, and everybody should hold on to their own stuff. And now what we've come to find is there's just too many people that are too anxious. I bet you everyone on this panel was probably at a certain age the kind of kid that tore apart their own PC with the intent to fix or rebuild it. That's what you find in this industry. Is I find that we're more tech forward or willing to do those things. But your average person does not want to fix their own devices, which is the equivalent of interacting with crypto in the way that you described it, Marcus, getting an app to log in and manually sending. Like, man, if you had to ask someone to do a manual contract call, they would never participate in cryptocurrency. So Matt, Case, what do you think about that? Can we expect people to ever want to interact, or are we tech fringe people to the core?
I think you hit the nail on the head. We are probably tech geeks. That's why we're here. That's why we love this stuff. And that's why we're so deep in the trenches and on these shows and listening to spaces and consuming this content and following everybody, right? I do think, though, Marcus obviously comes from a unique perspective, having launched that token in 2019 with XYO. But to his point, though, we're talking about, again, the user interface and that user experience. And I think some of these apps have done a good job probably moving the ball down the field. But something I just shared here recently just came out in the last day is Macadamia Wallet. Now you're able to send BTC via iPhone messages on the Lightning Network. And I think this is something, to Marcus's point, where we're talking about how easy is it to, like, my mom and dad, like, they can't send a Bitcoin transaction. They don't know how to do this stuff, right? But if you have an iPhone and an iMessage, well, at least I know how to send an iMessage. I know how to text somebody. So now with this new layer and this new application, this is going to bring that barrier down, I believe. That's where I think the thing is going. All of this is headed, in my opinion. But
does that make it less secure, though, if someone can hack your phone and send an iMessage with your Bitcoin?
Yeah, but I think one of the
Oh,
things that Marcus said that really stands out is the focus on earning, right? So as decentralization hippies, we remember the way to get into crypto wasn't by buying, it was by running your node, mining crypto, earning crypto. And I think that's the real unlock, that for 99% of the world's population, right, the money involved isn't that much, where you don't need Fort Knox style security guarantees. You need the convenience of an iMessenger type interface. But more importantly, to Marcus's point, you need the ability to have crypto earning opportunities. You need to be able to click buttons, do meaningful work, and be able at the end of the day to put food on the family table with your crypto. That's the alpha and omega. And doing that really puts crypto, right? We talk about mass adoption, puts crypto in every single wallet, in every single household all around the world. That's a great prize.
Yeah, I would I'd also like to just chime in and say, like, there's a balance, right? You can plot it on a graph if you want to, that the relative comfort and security that we offer to the user versus the relative alpha that can actually be obtained through it. It's going to be really difficult, right? The early value proposition for us, all being fairly early adopters, was that it was hard. So like the risk to reward, it was there. Now you get late entrants, unfortunately, laggards, where yes, it's going to be a little bit. That alpha, those peaks and valleys will be a little bit smoothed out. We've been approaching the top of an S curve for certain assets and certain types of exposure for some time. And, God willing, everybody here will live long enough to see the top of an S curve and, not die before then. We see the giant mass adoption events take place. But I think that there is going to be that separation between those daily wallets. And I'm not going to show any one wallet. Okay, I'll show Samurai Wallet. How about that? Free Samurai. Trump, please listen. But Samurai Wallet, privacy, pretty important. Easy to use for privacy. They couldn't have that before the ETF was passed. So that had to go. But what I'm getting at is the daily wallets that people will use will, of a necessity, be separated. There'll be a separation. The way most people here on this panel, you have a regular interaction wallet and you have a savings wallet, and you have your deep freeze bags that you're going to keep on ice. They will not see a hot wallet, right? You have a seed phrase somewhere backed up in your format of choice, or between the different parties and witnesses of your choice, that just does not ever touch anything hot. So like those principles can never be done away with. They just have to be made approachable for retail. And that's still going to require some kind of a learning curve, and it's going to require that people take their security seriously, which historically most people are pretty unserious, sadly.
I think I would say it's similar to the idea of pocket cash. How when I'm leaving the house, I'm going to take a certain amount of money in a certain form. I might take a credit card, a low limit card. I might not put it in my main wallet. I might leave my main wallet at home, might stick $50 in my sock in case things go bad. I think would use DeFi wallets the same way, like you just described it. You have an absolute deep frozen wallet. You have one that's a regular inbound only. You have one that's for regular transactions. Then you got your shitter wallet, right? Where you absolutely throw away everything. I think that's a better way to look at it, because I think people naturally move that way with their current fiat situations, whether you realize it or not, whether you just take a card or take cash. That's probably a great way to think of it. I would love for people to leave a comment and let me know how many wallets, you don't have to dox yourself, but how many wallets would you say you actually have? And I'm not talking like I have 1,000 because I I do a tax on anything, but are you like 5+ wallets deep? Because I think that 5 would not be a weird number to me. But are you 10+? Are you 15 wallets in? It would be interesting for me. What do you think?
If you're below 25, you're not OG. I'm just going to say it right now.
I was going to say, if we start including cross-chain, I think the numbers will get up there higher, because then you're going to have to start including everything. But leave a comment, leave a number down there, and let us know how many wallets you have. I think that'd be fun, because the audience that tunes into these things is pretty varied, and I bet we'll see some numbers that are pretty eye-watering in that collection. I think mine is probably somewhere under 15, to be honest. It's not that weird, but I do test wallets a lot. I do have like a lot of accounts that probably don't have any money, because I've downloaded so many wallets and tested them, so I'm excluding like zero-sum wallets and stuff. Travis, if you had to put a finger on it, do you think you're below 25? Do you think you're below 50?
Dude, I'm thinking about that. I probably got fucking wallets that's got crypto in it that I've forgotten about. Like, I try to keep track of them all, but then we've had so many people on Bad Crypto podcast that we've been doing since 2017. It's like, hey, download our wallet, do this, oh, and get some. And then I'm like, dude, did I even back that up? I don't even remember. Like, that's the reason I lost 55 Bitcoin back in 2010, 2011, is because I didn't back it up. I didn't know I had to back it up. And so that's the big wallet that I'm sad about, that I used to have. But my computer crashed and my motherboard melted because the fan went out and my laptop malfunctioned. And then I didn't get my Bitcoin off because, for one, I didn't have any way to back it up or remember how to back it up, because those were the early days. So I don't even remember. So even though I had a hard wallet there and I had my hard drive and I could get all my photos and stuff off, I could have probably got my Bitcoin off, but I wouldn't know how to get into it, right? Because all that shit was gone. So I don't know. It's just a weird, wild world. How many would I have? Jeez, I don't even know, bro. Probably 20+.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I expect the numbers are going to be like that as we look through there. I think you guys are all going to be thinking about it, but I've been thinking about XYO since the last show we had, because Marcus has been absolutely racked with work with the drop they made with XL1. And I've had the fortune of hearing some of this before, but Marcus, as you know, as we come to these shows, some people tune in and they've not heard previously your appearances on this stuff. So when we start to talk about XYO, the first thing we have to start is at the very tip of the spear. Can you tell me a little bit about what XYO is and when you started all the way back then?
Yeah, to make it easy, we're basically a data company in the crypto space for the non-crypto people. And but we as the first DePIN, we launched in 2018, and we started with proof of location or certainty around location and IoT devices. And today we collect and validate any type of data, be sensory data or offline data and so on. And we validate and verify it, and then connect it with smart contracts or sell it to Web2 companies. And we also with the proof of location, you can do things like remote treasure hunts or tracking of assets, or connecting the physical and the virtual world and stuff like that.
So you guys, like I've mentioned to in the minute before, you guys have had announcement after announcement. Last show, you guys were here for a big one. Previously, we were having a big discussion too. That was on Monday. What was the announcement Monday all about? Let's refresh everybody that's listening now.
Yeah. So last week we launched our XYO Layer 1 into mainnet. XYO Layer 1 is the first data chain. Basically, it's built purely for data and data-heavy projects like DePIN and gaming, RWAs, and so on, AI. And the Web2 companies around that as well. And then on Monday, we announced our first partner. And that partner is PiggyCell. It's the largest charging company in South Korea. They have 98% market share. And we are going to do proof of location for their charging devices, and when people and users go there and use them, but also we're going to tokenize the data, bring it on chain, and make it accessible and sellable. And we have some algorithms called proof of location as well, so we can prove where the data come from, and that it wasn't fudged risk, and it basically has extra value. And then there's many other ways. We work together with PiggyCell, basically enabling them to grow globally and outside of South Korea as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So we interviewed you back in 2018 about this project, and it was really cool because we ended up getting some of your beta little hexagon little tags that put one on my cat. My cat was roaming the neighborhood, and it was kind of funny to figure that out. And so talk about your early versions of this, and then how it morphed into what you need. And then also, what really got me about the last time that we had this conversation was you're like, oh man, an early truck drivers, they would put these trackers on their vehicles, and like one dude got to retire already. Yeah. So that's awesome that your product has already helped retire people. And in some ways you're just getting started. So maybe talk a little bit about that, because that shit is so fascinating, Marcus.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for supporting us since 2018. It's awesome to hang out with you again here, Travis, and it's you do great work. So yeah, thanks for that.
Thank you, kind sir. I'll send you some tokens later for that kind compliment.
Yeah, deal. So we started with these IoT devices and Bluetooth beacons and GPS trackers and so on, and you could place them somewhere, and then they would do cryptographic handshakes and basically proving each other's proximity to each other. We call it bot witnesses. And then that data gets relayed to something we call a bridge, and then stored in an archivist, which is a computer, for example. And then the data gets crunched to give you the best answer by something we call the diviner. And so we built this network, and those devices earn XYO, as they produce data which is useful to someone else. And that is still the basic concept of XYO, but we expanded it because today, you can do this data collection through a lot of devices, including a mobile app, which is called Coin. You can download it on coinapp.co, and that makes the onboarding very easy. We made it so easy that even your grandma can use it, Travis. And we actually have a lot of people in age groups where you wouldn't expect them to be in crypto. And what you mentioned, the truck driver, also people who have jobs, which are not crypto tech native, they are in our ecosystem. Like I mentioned before, 80% of the users in our ecosystem are non-crypto users when they started out. And so it creates these extra earning mechanisms. And the truck driver was one example. There was someone, who came as I was speaking at a show, and he was sitting in the first row. And as I came down the stage, he hugged me and thanked me because he was able to retire and even invest $400K into his friend's business. And but we have all these stories of, like someone paid off their mortgage, someone went on a 20-year delayed honeymoon, someone was able to buy a new car, and it's like these case studies, and our top 500 users, they earn together something like $12 million, and it's just incredible because in DePIN you're able to earn, right? It's decentralized physical infrastructure networks. It's about the earning, and then when you cash out at the right time, obviously then it can be quite life changing. And it's not a guarantee, but DePIN enables you to earn assets, right, which can appreciate over time, and it gets you out of this, like, you're a truck driver, you earn a salary, right? And suddenly you have assets, right? And the assets are starting to earn for you, and that's a really exciting part about DePIN and crypto.
That is really good. I just want to say I'm 52 years old. Like, how old would my grandma be at this point?
Who knows? Maybe
she'd be really old.
Maybe you had a young mother.
I thought you were gonna say so easy, even a caveman can do it. But then you don't want Geico to sue you.
No, you look like 28. Nobody would have.
Oh man, thank you. See, I gotta tip you some tokens, brother. Pulse, back to you.
Last time we spoke, Marcus, was the release of the Layer 1 blockchain for XYO. Can you tell me a little bit about what it does and why it's so different, why you guys decided to go that direction?
Yeah. So it's ultra data, so most other blockchains are about the transaction of a token and create finality and immutability around that. And we have that as well, but we do it as a data first approach. So it's not only about data storage and data, but certainty, but also data analysis and so on. And we created it in a way that the blockchain doesn't create bloat. So the nodes, for example, stop growing at a certain size. You can run it on a regular machine, and we have like 12 or so innovations nobody else has, which basically make it very efficient for data. And so we are, at the cusp of the AI age. AI launched a few years ago, but like really launched like with ChatGPT. But I think the transformation in our economy is about to happen, and the value of data is so high, and so we want to support that AI age with real on-chain capabilities.
I asked you about this last time we were on the call, and because it was interesting. So with the XY token built on Ethereum, then we started noticing, like in early 2020, 21, gas fees started getting stupid. That's why I didn't really like the NFTs that launched on Ethereum. We launched on Wax, our NFTs, and we had launched a lot of different series before even Bored Apes happened. It's like, dude, I'm not paying $300 in gas fees for no freaking NFT mint. Are you serious? Right? And so I had to expect that with you building on Ethereum, you were experienced because you were doing lots of little miniature transactions on XY on the XO token. And so you're like, oh, dude, like, is that why over time you've wanted to launch your own L1 so you can kind of minimize and control that?
Yeah, gas fees were such an issue, right, in 21, and they were several other times, I think, during the last few cycles, and yes, that's a big problem. Like XYO, however, works as a middleware. It connects real world with blockchain. It's like a reality engine, and then from there it connects to chains like Ethereum and Solana and others, and then. But we created so much data in so many disparate places, and the way the XYO network works is like we collect that data, we tangle it, right, and then we prove that it's stored, let's say, in IPFS, and then put into a Ethereum smart contract, for example, and so we tangle that path, and so we had a lot of those tangles everywhere, and then data written on Ethereum, Solana, and others, and now we just want an ultra efficient place of truth, and that's where the XYO layer 1 comes in. So that data is going to be written there first, right, and then from there onto other chains. And because it's data first, right, we made it ultra efficient for data, and that's why we launched it.
So one of the conversations that I saw in comment sections related to the post was people asking, we already have XYO, and what's XL1 do for us? They were holders, they were people interested, and since you've been around so long, there's probably people listening that are still interested in that. Can you explain how both tokens now play into your ecosystem?
Yeah, there's a dual token system now, and where both of the tokens strengthen each other. So for the XYO token, is used for the ecosystem rewards like DePIN, and then for governance, security, and for staking. And you can use it to stake it in the XYO layer 1 network. And there you earn XL1 tokens. The XL1 there is used for gas and transactions, dApps, and anything internal to the layer 1. So it's like a yin and yang you can think about, like XYO is external and XL1 is internal to the XL1. And with every transaction on the layer 1, some XL1 gets burned. And that way you are getting like two tokens which strengthen each other, because some of the XYO, a few percentage of the XYO supply since we launched last week is already locked up in the XYO layer 1. And so you create more scarcity. And then on the other side, the DePIN network and everything, and our new partners create a lot of transactions on the layer 1, which creates burning of the XL1 token. And so you get basically this strength of both tokens. And we have a lot of the original community locking up the tokens. It's really amazing to see the wallets, from like 2018 and 2019, moving the XYO to become part of our community on the XL1 side as well. And we specifically decided not to do airdrops. They're popular as projects, but airdrops often lead to dumping, because you drop tokens to people and then they just dump them, right? Because you don't know if they're really still fans of your project and want to hold. And this way, we make it very easy for you to stake it in the XYO layer 1 network and earn some XL1. We provided some extra bonuses for the first 30 days to create some extra incentive and to make it easy for the community who has XYO already or who wants to buy XYO newly to become part of the XL1 story as well.
Very nice. So now we've entered a new era with this. We have you just launched the L1 it was like last week or something, right? And so now there you have a mechanism, from what I understand, of staking your XYO tokens, and then you can earn some XYL. Is that how that's set up? How does that whole system, how does that ecosystem work?
Yeah. Like I mentioned, so you can use the XYO token to stake your XL1, and there are different nodes there. There's like a validator nodes and producer nodes, and then there's something called nodeless staking. And so for now, we just enable the nodeless staking for our community because we want to make it really easy. Like I mentioned before, it's all about ease of use to get people to start something, right? If you have a website, for example, and you try for someone to buy something, right, and then you need to make like 20 clicks and put the credit card here and this and that, your conversion rates are going to go down. And it's the same for staking, right? We think you have to make it as easy as possible for someone to participate, and so we enabled nodeless staking for our community last week, and then in the future there's going to be node staking as well. But for the nodeless staking, basically just go to XYO.network, click on the button that you want to stake, right? Send your XYO to an address, and you get XL1 back, and it's very easy for anyone to do. No installs, no nothing. You just do it right on the website, and but over time it becomes more complicated with the nodes. However, the nodes, because of the way we built the blockchain, are ultra easy to run. So you will be able to run them on your regular home computer, even if it's 5 years old or 10 years old. 10, I'm not sure, 8. you should be able to run the future validator and producer nodes as well. But that will require an install, but we will run you through it.
So with XL1 just recently being launched, but XYO being from back in the day, if I was looking to buy this token, XL1, is it something that, am I too late to this because you guys are a project that's been around a while? Is it a rewards token that I shouldn't be messing with? What should I look at?
Yeah, it's definitely not too late. I think we actually launched it at $30 million FTV. That's really low for layer one. Usually layer ones, they start at a few $100 million FTV. Some started even at $1 billion FTVs. And we started at a very, very, very low valuation to allow the community to come in and participate in the upside. And we learned that, in the last cycles when we launched, we gave VCs, when we raised money, VCs exactly the same deals as we gave our communities. And the VCs didn't like that, right? And so we got mostly community investors, and VCs and investors are locked up, and the community is not. And so it's a great time, I think, to buy, especially right now as the cycle goes down. It's a good time to buy any asset, I think. But we saw on Kraken, for example, on launch day, we saw like a 12x, and on Kraken and Uniswap of the price. And since then it has come down because markets are markets, right? We launched it into a short-term bear. And so it's a good time probably to be a part of it. For a lot of tokens, Travis mentioned it in the beginning. It's like a lot of those tokens which you saw, in 2015, they are not around anymore. But we have staying power since 2018. So we have proven ourselves a little more than most other projects, I think. And we made it through a lot of different administrations in the US, and it's still around, and thriving, like we have more than $9 million in revenue last year, and we have more than 10 million nodes, like we know what we're doing, I think. And so
wait a second, you're a crypto project that has revenue?
Yeah, I'm sorry that I have. 5 years ago, funny enough, I would have needed to apologize. Like, yes, we prioritized revenue, then it was frowned upon, to generate revenue and think about that, because everybody was in the just decentralization hippie phase. So
Right.
But
we
now
don't need no stinking revenue, Marcus. I don't know what you're talking about with these.
Exactly. And if you're like that, right, then your project is out of business as soon as the token price goes down.
Yeah.
And so to make it through these cycles and the markets, right, you need the revenue as a project. And so we were able to get there, and so I think it's a really amazing time to get into XL1 as well.
It's always amazing to me to see all these projects that are worth, like, we're worth $14 billion, and how much revenue do you have? Oh, we don't have revenue.
Yeah.
How are you worth $14 billion? I don't understand the economics of this situation. So
it's like that Silicon Valley bit that they did where it's like, no, you don't want revenue because then you can't get a proper valuation. I don't know, man. I think that there's more than one voice telling you not to have revenue at certain phases. I don't think retail was saying that.
That's pretty funny. So tell us, Marcus, real quick, then, what are some of all the ways that people can earn this your L1 token that you have, the XL1? Because it sounds like you can get it on exchanges, you can stake and earn it. Are there other ways you can earn it as well?
Yeah, those are the best ways. I think if you don't want to buy anything, let's say you afraid to spend some money to buy some tokens, you can download the coin app, start earning some XYO there, take that XYO and stake it in the XYO layer 1 and earn the XL1 that way. And that's the only way to get XL1 today. And
what about if you're a really influential KOL?
You have some. That's a good question. You have some. I think it's important, because the problem with KOLs, they are often making deals where they are able to dump on communities, and I dislike that, right? Because we are a community first project, and so our KOLs are locked up the same way our investors are locked up, where they have several months, a small portion gets unlocked, and then it's an unlock over many months and years, and so I think that's important.
That is important, because I know this. What's crazy is I'm working on a project, and we just got funding from Hilton. But what's so crazy is I get so many DMs. Hey, we'd like to help you with your project. Like, Jesus, no, I don't need your help. I don't want your spam tweets. It's ridiculous. So even if you do something with them, I like the fact that you can stake them and you can actually, earn them vested over time as it should be. Good stuff.
Cool.
So for everybody else that's out there watching this, the website is xyo.network is where you can go to check everything out. And on X, it's official
Thank you as
XYO.
well, Marcus, for
Word.
mentioning the earn pathways. Super important, super decentralization hippie. Big respect.
Thank you, Boris. Thanks.
Can you hear me?
Well, that came in like the voice of God. You have a great mic over there, Boris. I was like, who was talking? God, is it you?
It's funny you say that, Travis, because these are the new AirPod Pro 3s, and this is
Really?
the first time I'm using it, so it's great review.
Dude, it sounds better than some people's microphone, except Matt Case up there with his dulcet tones. Wow.
Very, very good feedback. Thank you.
Hey, Boris, really quick, are those the ones that do the translation now? The new ones with language? Okay, probably not.
Back to you,
For
Paul.
everybody out, I'm going to try one more time. So for everybody out there, if you want to check out the website, it's xyo.network, and on X at official XYO, you can check them out there. Is there anything that we missed that you want to get into, Marcus, before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think we have lots of exciting stuff planned for 2025 and 2026. A lot of our features are going to roll out, and we're going to onboard our own DePIN network, and then third-party partners. And if you want to be a partner or want to communicate with us, just send an email to partnerships@xyo.network. We have an ecosystem fund as well, and just become part of the community.
We appreciate you pulling up here, Marcus. This is going to be a great conversation going forward because I know we're going to meet up with you again at some point. But for everybody out there that was listening, make sure you take a minute to follow Marcus and all the speakers that were here. Matt is here, Boris and Bradley were here, and Seth from Mind Your Biz. These people all make great content on their own pages. That's why they come here, because we love their opinions, and we wish that you would follow them as a token of our appreciation. Thank you guys for pulling up and adding everything to the show today. And for Travis and the team at IBC, I appreciate that we get to come out here and have conversations with people like Marcus, because it does make me smarter every day. I always learn something from these shows, and I hope that as a listener, you did too. But as for me, Travis, the rest of this one is yours, buddy. I appreciate you.
Yeah, this is a good one. It's always fun doing these shows with you, Mr. Pulse. And we had ourselves a nice panel today. Thank you so much, Matt. It's always great having you on board. Seth, I'm going to mind my own business because you're always telling me to do that. And then Marcus, thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us about XYO and all of that. It's really awesome, man. I'm proud of what you've done, because a lot of projects, I would say 99+% of projects who have gone through what you have gone through would have folded. You didn't. You got this next level persistence, and I don't know if it's dogged stubbornness, but it's nice. I'm glad you're around, still doing what you're doing, brother.
Thanks, Tim.
Good stuff. Bradley, thank you for popping in with the DePIN and all of that. And Boris with the voice of God and the new iPod 3s. Thank you so much as well. And with that, I'm going to throw it back to you, Pulse. Let's finalize it up, brother. We are done with another show.
This has been another episode of Mario in the Fall X Live broadcasts. We appreciate you tuning in and look forward to the next episode. Have a great day.